Yeah, we live, man. Sorry about that. Being late to my own party. That is crazy. So basically, there was a video that came out about Kevin Samuels and a lot of women are, protesting and talking about like his situation and what he's talking about men men pursuing and coming at women a certain way, put this mask on, running around quick. But yeah, it's crazy. Like the whole argument that Kevin is promoting men being violent, you know. And but my thing is always when I hear the discussions, I always have this. If a man is gonna be violent towards you, why pursue a relationship with him? That's one of the is my mic? Okay. Yeah, if a man wants to be violent, why pursue a relationship with him? That's one of the key things I don't understand. I'm going to look bad at it. Yeah, but I mean, it's it's crazy. Like I said, I I just don't get it. I'm not understanding to the point where if someone is pretty much putting harm on your life, why would you even pursue a relationship with them? Why would you even, go moving forward? Because, generally speaking, if I'm gonna get in a relationship for me and that person to work, we would have to have an understanding. You know, people can change, but when you change, the situation changes. That's what a lot of people not understand. As far as the situation at hand, when people change, you change with them, and you move accordingly. You know, that's the things that I don't understand about this whole situation with him. Because nobody's forcing you to be in a relationship with these guys who act or, jump out of pocket a certain way in regards to the way they lifestyle. Yeah, sorry about that. Like I said, I'm bad luck area. Come out of this area, but I mean, this to be honest, it is actually crazy. We even have to have this discussion because, when the women are all talking about boycotting Kevin, not saying all, but the majority, select few or, far in between, you know, um, pretty much not speaking in absolutes. But when it comes down to it, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not highlighting the people that's coming in. Like I said, I try to stay on topic. Um, but yeah, when it comes down to it, it's very strange how a lot of the women are coming out how bad Kevin Samuels is. And, it poses that question to like, what is he really saying that is so bad? Now, I heard a woman last night. I'm not going to mention the content creator's name because I'm not trying to, start nothing to where people start either trolling her or coming at her in a certain fashion. But when it comes down to it, you got to really, really understand that a lot of the people that actually, are going over there talking about Kevin, talking about he's promoting violence towards women. Honestly, do you actually have to go into a relationship with a violent person? That's my question. And if the man is, showing signs of being violent, why are you in a relationship with him? So technically speaking, sound far away. Okay, check his mic again. So technically speaking, does that fall back on you? Hope you can hear me now. But technically speaking, does that fall back on you to the point where if Kevin is promoting men to harm women, I'm just listening to a content creator. She was talking about this. She was talking about the situation at hand. And I'm listening. I'm like, well, I never heard that. Honest kept, I don't actually come on his panels like that so much to the point where I hear him talking this way about men, putting hands on women or whatever. Personally, I watch the little 13, 20-minute clips, and sometimes I don't even make it all the way through. But I don't even make it all the way through to the point where I can say that this is thoughts, this is how he's, coming at the situations at hand. But when it comes down to it, I'm like, you have a choice in a matter of being with the person. And Kevin Samuels, a lot of people don't know who Kevin Samuels is. He YouTuber, Instagram, started off as I guess a influencer or a consultant as far as with fashion, a can't think of the name on top of my head where celebrities, use for dressing and stuff like that. But pretty much he got into that realm, dealing with men, start giving them, more pointers on how to take care of themselves. You want a certain type of woman, you gotta wear a certain type of clothes, you gotta, in it to win it. I pretty much just say it like that, and you got to look a certain way. You got to fit the part in which I guess most women like or want, you know. And to the extent, if you're not catching the eye of that woman, she's pretty much not interested in you for the most part until you catch her eye. And, a lot of guys come with that notion to where they wanted to get themselves together by wearing certain clothes or, you know, talking a certain way because quiet is kept when it comes down to most men and their appearance. That's what sell because the first thing a woman see, even with men when they're going out, the first thing they see is that woman and how she looks. You know, they see the woman how she looks, and they go from there. Same thing far as the women. They see the men how they look, how they're dressed. Depending on the shoes, women always say, man who wears boots typically does a lot of work, handyman stuff like that. The man who wears slacks and, designer dress shoes, kind of more corporate, but you never know. But, I just want to talk about that for the most part because when it comes down to it, one of my friends, I was talking to him, and this guy dates me and him talk a lot, and he was explaining to me how a lot of the women have that standard now to where if you like listen to Kevin Samuels or talk anything about Kevin Samuels, they technically don't even want to date you now because he's putting a standard on, women being held accountable and men not getting caught up in the spider web that, some women put out. I mean, because in a relationship, if the man is perceived to, pay for everything, handle everything, and the woman is, they complain about, we talked about this on Roger's channel, about being barefoot and pregnant. But if the man is doing everything, then what is the woman, kind of pursuing with the man? And women can say to the point that they, help with the house, cleaning, helping with the bills and doing other things. A man can cook and clean on his own. A man can, do the bills on his own. And for the woman being there, not saying that a man don't actually need a woman, but when it comes down to it, as far as the women, they don't really need a man to a certain extent if they don't want a man. It's all both sides. If a man generally don't want to get married, he's just not getting married. If a woman generally don't want to get married, she's not getting married. So when it comes to the extent of both of them having agreements of what they want out of that relationship, or what they trying to pursue with each other, because I think it's what is it helpmate or help me whatever to use different terms and stuff. But I mean, quiet as kept. When it comes down to it, a lot of people. want relationships to where they can be with somebody and work with each other. No fussing, no fighting. Like I always say, that's pretty much the biggest key to the relationship. If I come home, I shouldn't have to fuss and argue every night. I shouldn't have to sit in my car and dread going in that house for that woman is getting on my nerves. I don't know how to perceive that type of relationship, you know. And most guys perceive to, she looks good, so I'm gonna be with her. But like I said, the whole point of it is when you really look at it, like the women are having a standard of not dealing with men who listen and talk about Kevin Samuels. But like I said, he's only speaking to the behavior. And if you have nothing to worry about as far as like being ratchet, it shouldn't concern you. It shouldn't be an issue. It should not be an issue when a man says the only way I'm gonna deal with you, I mean a woman says the only way I'm gonna deal with you because you don't listen to Kevin Samuels. Like he's that much to the point where Kevin is pretty much having women barter the relationship to where if you seek, that type of relationship with a man, I mean, if you seek that type of relationship with a man, that you have to put a standard like that. He should know who Kevin is. He shouldn't talk about Kevin Samuels. You know, that's almost where's the standard to the point where I'm just gonna be a wholesome person. I'm gonna treat a man with respect. He's gonna treat me with respect, and we both have a nice, loving relationship. Not to the point where, when it comes down to it, if he don't listen to me or do what I say, that I'm not being in a relationship with him. It gets to be crazy when you start looking and dealing with those type of, points to where, oh man, I didn't charge my phone. Hope I can get through this. But it's crazy. Like the Kevin Samuel standard, that's what I'm calling it. Because at the same time, why should we have to fuss and fight about a woman being respectful to a man? Same, vice versa. If a man respects a woman, he's there for her, no matter if he listens to Kevin or any other content creator or just in general carry himself a certain way. What does it matter? You know, when it comes down to it, I respect you, you respect me. We don't overstep boundaries. We had a conversation on one channel, um, and what was it? On Real Deal with Shonda Davis. She's actually on the panel. And we were talking about, but we were actually talking about a man telling a woman she need to stay in her place. And the conversation was, why should a man tell a woman that? And it's to the point where, like I explained, I jumped on the panel and I told him, I said, to the point where if a man has to tell a woman that, pretty much it's an issue. You know, if a man has to say stay in your place, it's become an issue. Other than that, generally speaking, if you're just if a man just gonna go ahead and go off on a woman, that's his nature, and he does that. She deals with that. She likes that. But to the point where he doesn't do that, that's not the norm, and he comes out of pocket like that with a woman. She have to understand she's crossing the line somewhere. You know, I'm a humble person. I don't, really lash out at women and lash out at my wife for that matter. But to the point where she said something foul to me and expect me not to say anything back, no. I'm, I don't care if my wife, my child, my own mother, if you kind of try to degrade me or, belittle me, I'm going to say something about it. You know, I'm grown. I told several, even my grandmother, family members, cousins, older than me, and all that. When it comes down to it, I'm grown to the point of 18. I had a friend. He was talking with his mom, and it was a situation where they were arguing, and he explained to her, "You told me when I turn 18 and I get my own place or whenever, I'm grown. So to the point of the matter, if you don't like what I'm saying, this my house. She got offended, but at the same time, she thought about it and said, "You're right. I'm leaving." And the situation, you know, it was just handled. If you don't like the way I'm talking, you don't like the way like even in this space, a lot of people have so much issue with certain channels. Why are you still there? It's like mental torture to go back every day and listen to people in this space and have an issue. Every single day, you're going over there, trolling the account, just putting in comments. You don't like this person, you don't like that person, to the point where, man, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna say that. Whether they like it or not, I don't care. That's their opinion. You know, you don't have to be over there. You're choosing to be over there. Just like I said about the people who talk about Kevin Samuel has a standard on what he wants to do with women. That whole Me and my wife talked about that. A man exploring his options. You know, that's the funny part that a lot of women don't like. They don't want to, men to talk about. Damn dog is getting on my nerves. But a lot of women don't like that. You know, exploring their options, and it gets crazy. Like I said, me and my wife talked about that, and I explained to her, if I'm gonna cheat, I'm gonna tell you. I don't have to explore my options and let you find out. I'm gonna literally tell you if I'm cheating now. Because quiet is kept. Or I guess as a man, why should I have to hide it? I tell my wife, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, like far as in the relationship wise, why I gotta hide me messing with another woman? I've expressed it before I did it that, far as my wife, sex and, far as cleaning and whatever I want to run to another lady about, that's the reason. So if you have an issue with that, then leave. See, the whole thing is people are acting like they're being forced with a gun to stay in relationships with people that disrespect them. You're being forced in relationships that you have no say so. I've said this on Roger's channel. If a situation happens to where my wife cheats, I'm gone, you know, because the agreement was we're supposed to be monogamous, that you don't mess with nobody, I don't mess with nobody. Now, to the point where if you feel as if you want to do that, cool. Let's do it together. But the point of it is, I'm not going to be married to you because I hold those vows sacred. And in that marriage, I'm not going to sit there and have a woman to where, I get to go around and mess with a whole bunch of other women. So pretty much that's out the question for me. And I tell my wife, I was like, pretty much to the point where if I'm going to cheat on you, you should already know I'm going to be divorcing you because if you're not if you don't have standards for yourself, I mean that's what a lot of people lacking right now. Just some type of standards for yourself. That's the whole main issue to where a lot of people are having issues in relationships, a lot of people are having issues in life. They don't have standards. Gold Professor always talks about the 9 laws of self-government. Rule number one is being disciplined. A lot of people not being disciplined in certain actions, to the point where that's why they're cheating because of their actions, not being disciplined. Of course, you can always just, cut it all the way out. And, I guess what most guys say, MGTOW, to the point where they only mess with women to a certain degree. Or, I guess, monk mode to the point where you're just not messing with them at all. But to the point where, like I said, why have a headache when you don't have to have one? I told my wife, I was like, if you start to get old and miserable, I said, I'm gonna give you a chance because I've already developed, just a little business plan for myself and the way I want to live to where I'm gonna go over the road, drive trucks over the road. And then if that issue begins to still be a problem, I'll just get a divorce. I'm not gonna go where I'm not welcome. I'm not gonna be in a place where what's the song? I think it's Luther Vandross. It's if the heart is not a home. I'm probably chopping that up, but but you know what I'm talking about. If love is not there, why be there? You know, and a lot of people stay for the standard of the kids, but in the end, I don't get it. Like, you're forcing yourself to be in a bad marriage, you know, and I can understand certain people have their standards in which they want their kids to, have a good life and have certain things or not have another man, or some women just don't want another woman raising their kids. And I get that, by all means, stay. But you have to accept everything that comes with it. And that's what a lot of people don't want to do. The whole cake and eat it too type deal, to where I want this done, but I don't want to do this. You know, I want you to take care of me for life, but I don't want to have sex with you no more. I just want you to take care of me, be there for the kids, don't have sex. We sleep in two separate rooms. Nah, we not doing that. You know, and like I said, Kevin has put a stamp on a lot of, the ill behavior of some women, and they generally just don't like it. You know, that's the point. They generally just don't like being called out for their actions. They don't like being called out for their behavior. And that's the only thing with most of the guys in this space is speaking to their behavior. And I want to add a note to that too, where I tell guys, when a lot of men say that women are picking wrong, I'm keep pushing this. They're picking right. They know what they want. They want the dude from the corner. They want the hood dude. That's what they want. You want them, but you can't get them. You got to get that out of your head that she's picking wrong. Her environment tells her that this is the man for her at that time. When she wants to grow up, she wants to have a good life or a good relationship, she's going to go find somebody like you and hoping that it's not too late, that you still want to be with her or not. So, when that point is, a lot of women grow, to the point over time. Some of them don't. Some of them remain the same. They don't want to be in a relationship with, a guy who's respectable at that moment. They like that little rough around the edge stuff, but ultimately, towards the end, it hurts, you know, physically and mentally. That guy, takes over things, probably put you, hurt you to a degree, or, physically and mentally. Like I said, actually hitting on you, actually hurt you by cheating several times. You sit there and take it. Like, once again, nobody's putting a gun to your head to make you stay. Even the guy that's putting a gun to your head, he doesn't have that gun at your head 24 hours. You can easily leave. That's why I don't understand this whole notion of Kevin Samuels promoting something like beating on women. Why are the women still there? Because they want the value, they want all the value that comes with that relationship. The man who makes 300, the man who makes like $100,000 a year, he is capable of taking care of certain women, their needs. We heard the story about the woman who was staying in the townhouse and driving the man's car, but ultimately she was getting into a new relationship but didn't want to leave. That guy had the money to take care of that woman with the child in her situation. Why she didn't want to leave? She got a new man. And then was finding fault that the guy should still be taking care of her while she's with a new man. Like, that's the crazy part of that. How can you still stay with a man who you don't like, but then you're forcing him to still take care of you? Like, this guy might say he comes over while you got your new man, hey, tell your new man get out or meet me over here so we can have sex. Nah, we not doing that no more. You're literally staying in my house, driving my car, but we still can't have sex. Okay, next week you gotta get out. No, I'm not going nowhere. No, no. How does that work? Where does that work? Like, I don't get it. Like I said, when it comes to this relationship standard, people are talking about Kevin Samuels and, his thing, his standard. Like, I'm not really gonna try to, show a video or anything, but like I said, it's to the point where nobody's forcing these women to stay. Nobody's forcing these women into a relationship with a guy who makes over 100,000, because ultimately you're coming there for the money. I mean, being honest about it, that's the only reason you're starting that relationship with that guy is for the money aspect, because he has the means of taking care of you. Otherwise, you can get that regular guy who works for the city and, just have a decent job, driving or something like that. And y'all build a relationship with each other, build wealth with each other. You know, I'm the average guy, you know. Building that relationship is key. Like, why you don't want to build a relationship with this guy? Why you don't want to sit here and act like, this guy is not helping you or doing stuff for you? I don't get that. You know, when it comes down to it, I hear a lot of these women, just pretty much having issue with men. And I'm like, why? What's the whole point? You know, this guy don't want to do what you say. I've heard conversations. I'm about to drop the link, but I've heard conversations with women saying how why he just won't, listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a woman. Why he can't do what I say do? Why he can't listen to me? And I'm like, whoa. But when a man says why you can't listen to me and do his best and this and that, you know, the crazy part is the woman to be like, nah, the roles are reversed. Like, why should I submit to you? Why should I do this to you? Why should I do that to you? But when the man says, okay, cool, we're not gonna be in a relationship no more, I'm not actually gonna do this with you no more. And then they start getting these feelings to the point where, oh, what happened? What's going on, Dr. Dunbar?
What's going on, Sheed? We here.
Yep. I didn't even know my mic dropped off my Bluetooth. But
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to come up and say a few words. I did a stream yesterday. BGS came over. We talked about the octane scale, and planning on taking a little break in August, and I'm going to wrap up with my uh, a live stream on my experiences working with Kevin. They were brief, and also my take on this entire thing. And so in terms of, I'm assuming you heard that there's a petition going around or something like that to get him off YouTube. The reality is this, man, is that all the norms uh, that that were in place before, um, the respect for marriage, the respect for relationships, um, roles for men and women, all that was more clearly defined years ago. And a lot of that's been just obliterated. And on his show, if you listen to his show, if you watch his show night after night, what you hear are, first of all, the women are calling that show. No one's making them call that show. So there's something that they want. Maybe they want to be on, maybe they want to be on the Jumbotron, maybe they want to be seen, maybe they want to be famous, but they want high earning men, like you said, but so many of them are not prepared to do those wifely duties. And I think the majority of them want some form of control, some control over the man, some control over his money, just control. And that's a very different thing than, we met each other, we love each other, we want to spend the rest of our lives together, we're going to build together. No, this is something else. And I'm thankful that I'm able to see this, and I can ask the pertinent questions now. If and when I ever get into that space with a woman of childbearing and marrying age if that's meant for me. But the fact that, the conversation me and you had about 3 weeks ago, we're fortunate that we're all able to talk about this stuff and learn about this stuff. But I don't see a problem with what he's talking about, because it's pretty much a free for all now. And for a man who was raised the way I was, to be loving, caring, sensitive, and to be that provider, if you don't know the stuff that he's talking about and the stuff that we talk about in the sphere, you're in for a rude awakening. Because the truth is, there are a lot of relationships where women get bored or they start to feel unfulfilled, and it's very sobering when you feel like you've done, or you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you've done what you're supposed to do, and just to feel like just to learn that it's not good enough and she's leaving. So that's what I want to come up and say.
Yeah, it's crazy to get that notion, man. Like a lot of, hold on one moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's crazy that you're dealing with somebody and you're trying to put your all in the relationship, make it work, trying to sacrifice certain things in order for you to have, a life, values, and a lot of these women, they throw stuff under the bus. And when it comes down to it, it's like, you've been invested, like literally the amount of relationships I've been in before I got married, it was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It was to a point at one time I just pretty much stopped dating and stuff because, in the end, me dating this woman, dating that woman, and they all come up to the same thing. It's all about what you can do for me. And in the
Mm-hmm.
end, if you're not taking care of me the way I feel that I like or this and that, they just pretty much like throw you to the side. And it's like relationship after relationship. Like I said, it was all about from the aspect of what you can do for them. If you're not doing stuff the way they want or on that time schedule,
Yep.
they just throw you to the side. And everything that you've done for them, and it goes back to that old Eddie Murphy joke. What have you done for me lately? You know, I can, pay the bills. I can fix the car. I can clean up the house and make sure everything's good in the house. But then still, what have you done for me lately? I want to get a new car. You gonna buy me a new car? I want this and that done for myself. You know, I remember you was talking one time about a situation, to the point where I just lost it that quick. About I think it was on the scale of the bills and everything that you guys were planning a wedding and everything with your
Yep.
ex, and how it was getting to be so expensive. But she was looking at it as, money's no option, and I expressed that to my wife when we were, in a relationship and we was about to get married. I proposed to her and everything. And, this whole stoke of, well, the man should have this much for the ring and, this much for this and this much for that. I'm like, nah, we ain't doing that. Why I got to spend all this money for the ring? And then when it comes down to it, I'm gonna have to spend more money in a couple of months to upgrade your ring. So like
Yep.
why? Like why am I gonna do that? My cousin, he did that with his wife. He bought her 1 carat, turned around, bought her a 2 carat, and bought her a 3 carat. The 3 carat so big, I'm like, dang. Then she went and was upgrading for the 4 carat. Like he was mad that she actually turned in, I think, the second ring because he customized that ring. And that was more sentimental to him because he customized the ring. And he wanted her to keep the ring. I gotta call. Actually customized the ring. Oh man, what I did. Hey, Dr. Dunbar, your camera's on.
All right, hold on.
Okay. But the crazy part, like I said, he actually customized the ring to the point where, he was like, man, he would have paid her more money to keep the ring. She was only going to get the ring clean. And as she was going to go get the ring clean, that's when, the crazy part was he found out she actually, upgraded the ring.
Okay. So,
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, since you're talking about rings, so some of us have shifted. I'll credit you and Alonzo and Rael to kind of shifting economics into our discussions. We're thinking about getting insurance and investments and keeping your debt low and all those things. Just imagine you're trying to you weren't left anything. You weren't left you might get something, that unfortunate day when your parents pass on. But imagine you're starting your own career, you're trying to build stuff, you're learning how to build stuff, and now you have all these rules for getting these engagement rings. You know, and by the way, Kevin has rules for that. If you listen to the show, he says, "Has a man proposed to you with a ring of significant carriage?" This is all a big deal. This is yeah, this all this stuff adds up, all this stuff costs. And as a man looking at getting into something and understanding where all this can go and all these decisions you have to make about what kind of ring she's going to want, what kind of wedding she's going to want, because oftentimes it's the woman who wants all that stuff. There's a lot to think about and to consider um, before you get in. So yeah, that was me. I was just figuring out at that time. I was figuring money out. I was figuring out, how to get rid of debt. I was figuring out, okay, I need X amount of money saved up. I wasn't in the stock market. My retirement account was barely funded, and I saw all these things that I needed to do. But she also wanted an engagement ring, and she wanted a nice wedding in Northern California by the water. So you can only imagine how much that would have cost. And we weren't going to get any help.
Yeah.
So just there's nothing wrong with wanting those things, but there's also something to be said for being realistic and thinking about your life after the wedding. And some of this stuff can reach a level of insanity. And I just think that it's good that we can get some of this information out now. Because my mother was the first one to tell me about the engagement ring rule, which is it should be, and this varies. I'm sure you can vouch for this yourself. This varies, but my mother was of the opinion that it should be 1 month's salary. Okay, I'll say 1 month. From what I'm seeing, it's 1 month's salary and up. Because 1 month's salary, depending upon the woman, 1 month's salary might not be good enough for her. Or 1 month's salary might vary from man to man. So there's so many moving parts to this stuff. But going back to what you were talking about, I don't see anything wrong with what he's talking about on a nightly basis, because there are so many people walking around not knowing what's going on, or not knowing why it's so hard to form a stable relationship, or even if that's realistic these days.
Yeah, because I mean, it's so much taken and not enough giving. That's like the biggest thing that kills me with my wife. We typically talk about a lot of good stuff, as far as our relationship and growing of the family. And she still couldn't get it while I was getting so much life insurance and, to the, issue that, I tell people, I'm not ashamed to tell my parents died when I was at a young age. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my biggest point of, if something would have happened to me, how am I going to provide for my family? My dad was in the military, so we got assistance from the military to the point where we were paid till we were 18. By the guidelines and the standards of the military. I didn't go to the military, so life insurance was my next best option to, have my family being taken care of. So that's why I was more compassionate getting into life insurance at a young age. And plus, being my family, I talked to my grandmother, talked to other members in the family. Everybody had life insurance. You know, they all talked about not leaving a burden for the members or anybody behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Put this thing on disturb. Yeah, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Got a call in. All right. So basically, it was like to the point where didn't want to be a burden to the next generation or anybody else. So that's why life insurance, I tell people.
You still there? Okay, well, until she comes back, I guess I'll fill the space. She was talking about life insurance, and the reason that's important is, you know what? I'll just wait till she comes back instead of just rambling here. Wow, it's just me. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Hold on. Kareem. Kareem says, Dr. Dunbar, obviously that chick wasn't the right female for you. Well, Kareem, one of the interesting things was what I learned there. Oh, he's back. Okay. I'm gonna answer this by Kareem. One of the things that I had to kind of reconcile and kind of wrap my mind around was, okay, this woman has a career. Okay. She makes her own money. She was in media. She was on television, actually, in the Buffalo market. She was on our Channel 7 affiliate. So I had to wrap my mind around, okay, this woman has a career. She makes her own money, but she's kind of silly at times. She's not as responsible with money. She doesn't seem to care about how it works. And she's kind of looking for a man to be like her father partner. And she's looking for me to basically take care of her. So that was one of the major learning points from that particular thing. But no, long term, I don't think we liked each other. She, you there? She? Okay. And there's a difference between liking someone, loving someone, liking to sleep with someone. All those things don't necessarily go together. She, you there? Okay, let me read a few more comments here. I see Alonzo. What's going on, Alonzo, the all-star advisor? Karine says these females need to be pruned from the timeline. They variance messing up for us normal ladies. Stoic says, thanks for being candidate, Dr. Dunbar. Oh, candid. Oh, no problem. Alonzo made a joke, said she ain't here, LOL. Okay, let me read a few more. Let me go up. Oh, the Village Arsonist is in there. Big Dog Sheed. KP from KC5 says great conversation. Let's see. So what I learned was, okay, there's two. She there? Okay, I'll talk a little bit longer. You know, guys, and so one of the major lessons I learned from that engagement was that as a man, so my dad talks, as a man, I need to go in with my finances clicking on all cylinders. And I also learned that even when a woman has a career, as a man, you need to be on the best financial footing that you can be on, because on a very primal and instinctual level, I think most women still want to fall back in their quote unquote feminine energy. So, so yeah, even now in 2021, with equal opportunity and you know, women getting their bachelor's, masters, and PhDs. I'm a PhD. At the end of the day, when they get together with a man, they still want that man to be quote unquote financial, as my father said. So that was one of the major learning points I got from that engagement, and that engagement blowing up into smithereens. I thought, you know, we loved each other. I thought we could build together. I thought that we could dig ourselves out of our respective holes together, because she was in a bit of a hole herself, and that's why now I understand why you kind of need to gauge where the other person's finances are, when you're thinking about getting serious, because the other person's finances are going to affect yours. And if you're going to be together long term, you're going to have to come up with a common financial strategy. Third Wave Colombian says, "Good afternoon." Uh-oh, is Goldie Jones here in the chat? I think she's the one who started the petition. Oh, yeah, there she is. Hey, Goldie. Goldie, you're making waves out here. Okay. Yeah, so Sheed was talking about, I think, the potential of Kevin getting canceled. Hey, Goldie, over on my channel over this weekend, I'm going to talk about my experiences with Kevin and why I think what he's doing is important. So that might put us on opposite ends of what's going on in terms of your petition. But I'm planning on doing that this weekend. I hope folks come through. Just briefly, I did work with Kevin. I went to one of his MIT events. I did an hour consultation. And when I watched the show, what you see on camera is what you get. He's very blunt. He doesn't pull any punches, and he will hurt your feelings. So I don't think the ladies who call that show, first of all, they want to call that show. So no one's making those women who call the show call the show. So I think that's something everyone needs to keep in mind. They're calling to hear what he thinks. They're calling to get access to those high value men, quote unquote. And so they're calling. No one's holding a gun to their head. But I'm saying this to say that as a man who did a consultation, an image consultation, because I didn't know the first thing about fashion when I did it, he is as blunt and what's the word I'm looking for? You need thick skin when you're talking to Kevin one-on-one. So your girl, who you're average at best, she got off pretty easy. You know, many of the women who call into the show, they get off pretty easy. But he will, yeah, he does not pull his punches. So I can vouch for that personally. Sheed is still not back. Okay, I'm gonna look at the chat and see what's going on out there. But I do think what Kevin is doing is good, because you know, the landscape has changed, and I think there are a lot of women who don't. Well, me and BGS talked about this on my original channel. You know, the difference between a partner and a wife. Most people, actually both sides of the gender line, I don't think they understand what that is, and I think you know, many of the women calling into Kevin's show, they want to be wives, but they weren't trained to be wives, and they don't know how to be wives. I think they want the bag. Shout out to Nicole Michelle, the lovely Nicole Michelle. They want the bag and they want to be taken care of. And what we're seeing is many of them don't understand how much money, for example, it would cost to raise a family of 2 and 3 children in a major market city. That comes out in a lot of the calls when that comes out in a lot of the calls to Kevin's show. You want to be taken care of. You want 4 children. You want them to go to private school. You want to take a vacation. How much is that going to cost for a man to have to pay for that? How much does the average man make? What's the median income? That comes out quite a bit in Kevin's show. What percentage of men make 6 figures or more? Also, 6 figures can range from $100,000 to $999. So 6 figures is a range. So even making the low 6 figures in a city like Washington, D.C., that's not a lot of money. You have to be smart with that. Okay, let me look at here. Wow, I'm actually still on the clock here myself for my 9 to 5, and I don't want to just leave Sheets stream here, but I'm going to try to keep this going until he comes back. Let me look at the chat here. I see Irv Gotti, past the $40 is in there. Let's see. I saw Toya agreeing with Kareen. Kareen says that PhD lady had me rolling during that broadcast. Did you guys watch last week? There was a woman on Kevin's show who was talking about her parents were in love with money and serious about money, but she didn't want, which is why she distanced herself from her parents, but she wants a man who's serious about money. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on out there. A lot of crazy people walking around. A lot of them call his show the private chat. I think Zoe wants the mic. That's fine, Zoe. I'm sitting here rambling. This is the first time something like this has ever happened to me. So I don't know whether to just drop out and then you'll just have this random stream going, or if I should just keep the seat warm till she comes back. So let's look at the comments here. Kareen says, stop defending her, Dr. Dunbar. Her values did not align with. Kareen said, I think you meant stop defending her, Dr. Dunbar. Her values did not align with hers. Well, Kareen, I'm a fair guy, very conscientious, very understanding. So I can look back. I think just like Kevin does, I can look back at all my exes with a little bit of sympathy for who they were, where they came from, and what they were going through at the time. Let's see. Nah, I'm only asking if you need to step away. If I could admit you, Zoe, I would admit you, but I don't have the capabilities here to do it. And Toya said Kareen's right. Past the $40 says Sheed. KP from the KC5 says they want it both ways, essentially. Yeah, that's what we're running into, KP. And it's very sobering if no one prepares you for that. And I don't see why. If you watch Kevin's show from front to back, he does a monologue. I'm nowhere near as big as Kevin, but I tend to do monologues at the beginning of my show, so you know what it's about. And if you watch most of his shows from front to back, there's a logical beginning and a logical ending. And I think sometimes what happens is people hear what they want to hear, but also, Toya, what? This is a Dr. Dunbar Stan account? Toya, are you trying to be funny? This is me. This is Dr. Goodbar. So, so most of Kevin's shows, they have a logical beginning, a logical ending, and I don't think the majority of what he says is unreasonable, but I think people hear what they want to hear, and it's interesting to hear that many of the women who call his show, they're in relationships, they're the ones leaving those relationships. they're waiting a while to get married. They want to stay home, but many don't know how to do things like cook. And it's just a real cluster that we're in right now. Shannon B says, let me catch up with Sheath's chat here. That PhD lady had me rolling. Stop depending on her. Dr. Dunbar, her values did align with yours. Didn't align with yours. They won it both ways. Past the $40 says, I tell this women poverty is their friend. Shannon B says, Kevin didn't know anything about money and families. He was making that crap up. Okay, so we have a Kevin Samuels detractor in the chat. Besides Goldie. And KP says, Fresh and Fit also brings that out as well. Many women want a man that makes $250K or more, essentially. Bandit did. Shannon, I know you were raised by a single mother, but please contain your beta energy. Pastor $40 says, I want to interview all respect be given family. Yeah, you came to my science channel. We talked about some farming, some agriculture, good soil. Yes, anytime you want to do it, let's do it. August might be a good time. I'm planning on taking a break in August, at least from my main channel and from my sports channel. This YouTubing and blogging and having a 9-to-5, it wears you out after a while. Let's see. He says you're doing a good job. Keep going. Shannon says Bandit parents were married 47 years. Bandit did says Shannon being an act and speak like a man, and now some silly little emotion, not some silly little emotional girl. Toya said this is Dr. Dunbar's Stan account. That's funny, Toya. Toya said I'm a huge fan. Hey, Alonzo, if you have if you can send Sheet a text, you might want to send him a text and ask him what's going on here. Or pass the $40 if you have his number. You might want to. I mean, I would do it, but I'm right here running the show. Pastor $40 says Alonzo Hall need to do that interview on marriage insurance as well. Yep, we could all learn some more about that. Because you know, some people, my parents never talked about marriage being a business. You know, we talked about love and God and we need each other. But at one point, at least, depending upon which socioeconomic class you come from, marriage also has a business aspect. So that's something, if Alonzo hasn't talked about it yet, I think a lot of value can be added there. Because a major part of wealth is passing it on and not letting it go to probate and not letting the government get its hands on whatever it is you built up. Let's see. Oh, Roger. Okay. Past $40. Alonzo Hall need to do. Okay, I already read that. Dr. Dunbar, where are you finding these ladies? Well, if you're talking about my fiance, again, she was in media. She was on TV. And she was working in my in the Buffalo market when I met her. Past $40 says I'll hit your emails. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Again, August will be a good month, as I want to take August off and relax a little bit. KP says no matter the octane level of delusion, today is unreal. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Let's see. Well, so the other thing is that there are a lot of those. There's a lot of that here in the DMV. Delusion, unrealistic expectations. You know, waiting forever to settle down. And you know, it's funny, guys. One of the things me and my mother talk about. I'm going to see my mother next week when I go back to Buffalo for a little visit. My mother told me that when she went to college, she was looking for a husband, and I think about these things, you know, in my daily routine, and I wondered, okay, who was looking for me when I was an undergraduate and in graduate school? I don't know how I would have afforded a marriage at that point, but who was looking for me in my early 20s? That's a bit of a rhetorical question, but I don't think the females in my cohort, well, in my early 20s, I didn't have a social confidence. I was a good-looking young guy, but I didn't know it. But I don't think the majority of the ladies in my cohort at my HBCU, I don't think they were looking to get married at that time. I don't think they were looking for a husband the way my mother was. And my father got married in the early 70s. So we know that the landscape changed. Toya says, Peace, Dr. Dunbar, keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Toya. I'm very grateful to that. And I need to, that's on my to-do list, to get over and to see what you're talking about, because I want to hear some more about who you are and your content. Let's see. KP says, no, All-Star Advisor says, Alonzo says, past the $40, I wanted to come on, but I was busy at the time. KP says, Dr. Dunbar, I have a cousin with a PhD that is single and has a son, never met the father at all. Yeah, there was a woman in my, I'm in the federal government. I think Alonzo knows that, in a science division. And there was a woman there, I won't say her name. I mean, not that she's listening to this anyway, but PhD. She's from the Ados tribe, nice and voluptuous, very thick, shapely, just the way I like them. When I got to the agency, I think her PhD was from Virginia Tech. I'll divulge that. But she didn't really have an interest in getting married, and I think that she had a problem. I think it was a bit of the social class thing, because I think she was from an inner city community. She had her PhD from Virginia Tech in a science, but her first two sons, she didn't marry that father. Then she had a third son and didn't marry that father either. And one of the things she told me was that the men she talked to, I think, were the men that she got involved with, they were intimidated by her PhD. And this was a strong-willed woman, by the way. So it's not just having the PhD, it's the way you, shout out to Black Uru, it's the way you comport yourself. It's the energy you give off. It's, for many women, their PhD becomes their set of balls. There's something to that. And there's a reason why Kevin plays that drop every night, because that means something. Okay, Alonzo, I see your.
Yeah, man.
He's back.
Sorry to leave
man.
Like
Bruh.
Hey,
bruh. Well, we were having some fun. We were having some fun while you were gone, so. But I held it down for you.
I guess I have to change my name to We Not Here No More. Hey, man, I don't know what happened to my phone. It's like I tried to click the Do Not Disturb, and when I did that, it shut down my internet, everything. I'm like, whoa. Yeah,
well, hey, we learned something. You can leave a guest in the show as the host, and the show can keep going. So I'll keep that in mind when I do mine.
Yeah. I'm pretty much have to start back using my second phone like I've been doing. I had another phone, but I started leaving it at home because I wasn't using it as much. Yeah,
it's always good to have a second.
I'm starting to see it's needed. Yeah.
Salute, gentlemen. I just wanted to thank you for bringing me up.
All right, what's going on now?
Can't complain too much. Getting ready for a couple meetings. Looking forward to actually, if you don't mind me speaking for a moment, I guess I'll make my opening statements for the CAAFP this year, which is the Conference of African American Financial Professionals. I thought I might have been able to come out there and visit you in Georgia because it was supposed to be in Georgia this year. But due to the pandemic, they're doing it digital again. And so we're going to be doing it digitally. But if anybody wants to go, it is $150 to register. It's a 2-day virtual event for anybody who works in or is interested in working in financial services. Excuse me. It's hosted by the American College of Financial Services, of which whom the CEO is Black. And he stated at the CAFP last year, only 5% of licensed financial professionals in the industry are Black, which is part of what contributes to the racial wealth gap. And as always, you know me as your insurance junkie, fiduciary fam, aka the all-star advisor of Alonzo Hall. Thank you, Chief, for bringing me up. Make sure you follow his page, follow my page. Make sure you hit the Roger Report, Long Live the Habitual Line Steppers, and make sure to follow Dr. Dunbar, Big Discussion 76, and on his main channel, Big Discussion Science and Technology 76, and 2 sports channels as well.
Yep.
Actually, one is sports and one is entertainment and
Yeah, you
media.
got the
I'm sorry.
entertainment.
Same difference.
What's going on, Roger?
What's going on, my brother? What's going on? Actually, I'm new to the information about the because I see you were talking about Kevin Samuels. I'm new to the information about people putting a petition against him.
Yeah.
Which I find that to be absolutely silly, but I do see it as something. I mean, I knew it was gonna happen anyway. I just say that. I'm gonna just be realistic. I knew this was gonna happen a while ago because because right now, you know, as he's doing these shows and he's talking to different sisters, people are blaming Kevin Samuels for women wanting high value men and not being prepared to get them, because that's really what it comes out to at the end of the day. They're not prepared to get them. You know, even when I say on my show about the how most black women don't qualify for a black man's baby, when you start saying things about sisters not qualifying for certain things, they take it the wrong way, and they're used to society where their faults are never under the light. So women just don't like it. So at the end of the day, his show is bringing out some of the problems that they have, and it's showing women constantly, um, showing the points that men have been talking about in the black manosphere. You know, everything that we say happens with them. Now you got this big light on his show because he done catapulted his way up, and now all these points are being shown on basically it's like live TV almost. You got so many people watching, and so much of this stuff is coming out. And now, what can women do to stop it? Well, the only thing you can do is that this is something a lot of women do. They try to tell his boss. Now, Kevin Samuels don't necessarily have a boss. So you can't tell on Kevin Samuels to Kevin Samuels. So who you gonna tell on? Well, what do people, what do black women customarily do to control black men? In their mindset, I got to tell a white man so I can control the black man. So what white man is there to tell at this particular point? Well, there's no white man to tell. So what can we do? We got to create a petition so we can tell social media platform owners that we don't appreciate y'all having them on your platforms. They're gonna try to, you know, dissuade them from having them on platforms. But I mean, I think at this particular point, it's probably gonna be a little too late because there's too much money being generated. And when it comes down to it, a lot of stuff happens, but people make concessions where money is being made. If you're a smaller time black person or they think they're gonna make the money anyway, that's one thing. Kevin Samuels was not part of a football team or basketball team. So the team was going to exist with or without one particular player. He is his own entity. He determines when he goes on air. He determines when he comes off air. He doesn't work with a team of people that's telling him when to do this and when to do that. So who is he beholden to? Nobody. So now a lot of people don't think this ahead. For them to take him off now would directly affect their money and the money that they're generating due to him. There is no team. If you take him off, that's it. You just lose that portion of income. Do you want to lose that portion of income for a bunch of people who are complaining that don't provide you any money? You see what I'm saying? They make donations on his platform. When people watch content creators videos and when every time if you don't know, every time y'all watch the commercials, that's a benefit to the content creator and a benefit to the platform. So why would they lose money and there's no one there to replace the money with? If he was just a co-host of a particular show, you can tell the show, hey, remove that particular co-host. The show goes on. If he goes away, where does that money come from? It's not replaced. So I think I understood a petition would be made at some particular point in time, but those two things with World Star Hip Hop that done kind of blew him up, and he already hit 1 million subs. At this point, ain't nothing you can really do about it. It's just gonna have to be dealt with now. And I think this where a lot of women will find out that they're not as special as they believe they are.
Hey, I would agree with that if you watch his show somewhat regularly on the YouTube side, because he does Instagram as well. If you just look at the volume of super chats coming in his chat, and I didn't realize this, but you can see once they start lining up, because he doesn't read them. He doesn't have time to read them. You can sit there and scroll through the super chats on his screen, and Google keeps a third of the super chats. So yeah, that's money Google will be leaving on the table for something silly.
Yep.
Even with that too, you got to look at the situation with Dave Chappelle. Look how Dave Chappelle, they tried to take his name and do all this and that with it. Kevin Samuels is his name. That's his brand. Like Blue Magic. It's not to be tampered with. But the crazy part, like I said, with Dave Chappelle, they tried to assassinate Dave Chappelle, him and his character and his content. Look what Dave did when he came out and told the people, stop watching this content, stop giving them the money. They ultimately had to come back and make an agreement with him to say, hey, quiet as kept, we need you. And this is the same scenario is going to happen with Kevin. And the fact of the matter is, he's only speaking to behavior. And that whole thing, a lot of women don't like that in general. They don't, just not even in our community, just in general with all women, it's to the point where they don't like to be told what to do. And the standard of them trying to, get along and work with us, that's posing a real problem for them and their situation to an extent.
And I would actually say that because Kevin Samuels is a black man at the end of the day. Now, we know about the Black Manosphere as a whole. A lot of folks is hearing that content. They don't know squat about the Black Manosphere. That's why I say he's a lightning rod to the points that we make. But he one guy. He's not part of a team. This is not football. You can't just remove the one guy and the team continues to go. If you remove him, you've removed everything. Why is somebody going to give up their money? Because it makes somebody uncomfortable who ain't spending money. See, it's one thing when you say, if y'all take him off the team, we still gonna patronize your team. We still gonna buy your t-shirts. We still gonna come to your games. We still gonna be buying stuff from the stands. And, we're gonna be buying the food products and things like that. No, this is just a digital situation where he puts on the show. If you remove him, there is no show. That means all money is lost, and it ain't about him. It's also about ad revenue. Y'all think Google ain't making a little bit of money off the ad revenue they run during his show? Because he puts out a lot of clips. There's ad revenue there. Why would they give that up? I wouldn't give it up. Just for some people who ain't finna spend no money. Because guess what? The people complaining is the people that ain't putting money into a show. So I'm supposed to go against the people who generating dollars for the people that's not generating dollars. That equation don't work.
Yeah. And time again, that's the thing. It's starting to be the norm to try to get people to, if you complain, if we get enough people together that we can fight against this. True. But if it's an issue, something that is, of real importance, it'll be understood. But to the point where you don't like what this guy is saying, like I said earlier, don't listen. If the men, they don't like the men that talk or have a certain, kind of relationship with these women, don't deal with them. See, that's the whole premise that a lot of these women are not understanding. Nobody's forcing you to deal with these men that you're saying that are acting a certain way, or listen to Kevin if you saying that his message is rhetoric. Nobody's forcing you to do this. Every woman that goes on his panel, they're literally, going no gun behind them or anything. They're doing it on the premise of trying to, prove him wrong. And ultimately, every night it shows that the women are trying to prove him wrong, ultimately, or mean their own demise because they're sticking their foot in their mouth. You know, Even with the women that he basically explained that tried to come at him with a certain, train of thought or pattern or something like that, and ultimately he tells them, yeah, you might got me with this, but the point of it is you're cute. The other women, they're not going to get this pass like you get this pass. And the cute women who come on there and try to fight, they know this. They, even though they're trying to take up for their friends, even the women that are married to come on there and go against him. Literally, you're married, so this doesn't even comply to you. Why are you even here? But you're trying to take up for a friend who won't even come up and take up for themselves. Like I keep saying, why are you over there? Why are you so-called trying to date these guys of high standard, but then you complain about issues or something that Kevin might have said that exploring options. If the man said he's going to explore his options or something like that to the extent, if you don't like it, what's the best part? Just leave. They're making a whole situation out of nothing, in my opinion.
And I'm gonna say that, granted, I mean, black women are mainly coming to his show, but don't think for a second. And I don't like white folks want to hear this either, especially white women hearing this from a black man. You know what I'm saying? Because it is about being told what to do or being told that what you feel is a standard just isn't good enough. Women do not want to be told that whatever perceived value they have is not the actual mark. That's just the way it goes. They don't want to be told that, period. And that's what's happening. Women are showing up saying, I'm a woman, therefore I deserve a high value man, and you need to tell me how to get one. That's really what they're coming up there for at the end of the day. Now, I don't watch it every day because, I just, I know what's going to happen generally. And truth be told, based on what I, based on the context that I do on my show, basically what you have a bunch of losers going up there trying to get the top tier men. That's what you have mainly. These women are 30 and above. They already blew it to a point that a regular dude don't want them. Why would you even show up for a high value man unless you would at least start to get yourself together before you go on his show? The four basics that I've talked about, being overweight, too many kids out of wedlock, the debt, having too much debt, and a bad attitude. These women, if they really respected themselves, they would have all that situated before you even go on his show, so they can get past that and get to other things that's going to be more specific to high value men. These women ain't even got their basics together, and they going on the show day in, day out, and ain't even smart enough to take the bonnet off. Not even smart enough to just look decent. Like, you about to go outside your home if you're going on a public platform. If you're gonna show yourself on a public platform, that's like walking outside. You're not gonna take your bonnet off. You're not gonna have your hair done. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna look presentable like you going to work. Like you, and it's like, are other men who watch his show supposed to look at you, be disrespectful toward a high value man, and say, that's what I want? Because the way you show up on his show, it says something about what you think about high value men in the first place.
even
Often
that.
they don't.
Go ahead.
Often they sometimes don't even look at him as a high value man. Um, and like you said, a lot of it is that's what they want is the high value man, which is why people are always baffled as to why they call in because they, like you said, I'm a woman, I deserve a high value man. Tell me how to get one. Is what their purpose of calling in is. Um, but even to that experience, because we do have, at least in some of the categories, a high value man and Dr. Dunbar on the panel. And you were talking about your relationship situation. I didn't catch the entirety of it, but I did ask where you were finding the women. And you mentioned with the fiance that you found her through work. Is that accurate?
Actually, no. At that time, it's a funny story, uh, I was in Buffalo right before Thanksgiving about 5 years ago, and she was doing a story because she was on the news.
Okay. Well, so with that, I like currently, as opposed to being Dr. Goodbar, where are you finding what do you know what you're looking for when you're looking for these ladies? Like, do you have what's your ideal picture of a wife?
Zoe, why don't we reconvene on this questioning here?
Okay.
I'm still on the clock here working, and
I
I
got
need to drop down shortly.
Yes,
Yeah.
as do I actually. I just realized what time it was. Um, and I have a meeting shortly.
But
But yeah, so go ahead.
go ahead, Lonzo.
So the whole thing with Kevin Samuels, I think a lot is lost on the fact that he is explaining to people very specific things. And like Dr. Dunbar said, you have to have a thick skin when you're dealing with him. Prime example, I called into a show when he was asking if this was when I first stumbled upon him even being in existence. I fell upon his show and he asked if men were ready for a high value wife. So being that my wife and I have a certain income and live a certain lifestyle, I figured I'd call in. And when I explained to him that I meet some of the parameters of high value men, except for the financial, because I don't make 10,000 a month, he called me high value homeless and hung up in my face. Now that didn't lead me to wanting to, make a million. Oh, Kevin Samuels is trash videos, because I understood what he meant. I don't know if everyone was privy to the conversation we had yesterday with BGS, where I explained about my wife. And, I would go out to dinner dates with her and her friends. And I was working at Macy's at the time, and I was making around $50,000 a year, which was substantially less at the time than what my wife was making. And her friends were like, you got a guy who, well, you need a real man, not some man who work at Macy's. I mean, we shop at Macy's, but we got a lifestyle to maintain. These Michael Kors bags ain't cheap. And they would say this type of stuff right in front of me. So, I had a thick enough skin to deal with what Kevin Samuels was saying and realizing that in competitive situations, if I'm not up to par, you don't get a participation award. Like Chris Paul, if they lose in the finals, he ain't getting no trophy. He just going home. you know. Um, so I just look at that and realize that oftentimes a lot of these ladies are calling in to get something, and they don't know quite where they are.
Honestly, I think Kevin Samuels and the Black Manosphere as a whole, we're actually doing women a lot of real favors. They don't really know where they are, and they don't really know what it's like to be a man and have to deal with where you are at all times. Because the world is so fluffy to them, and they live in this woman bubble. But as I say that a woman 30 years old is a loser, shouldn't this be something they know? shouldn't they already have the concept? If I make it to my 30th birthday, the chances of me getting married is gonna shrink. This is like stuff they should already know. So I look at the work he's doing, like he's really doing them a favor at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? They really should be glad that he's telling them. But you know, a lot of women want to hold on to this Disney dream, which is why they have a problem with it. And what I mean by that is, now I mean, truth be told, my personal opinion, women want masters of the universe. And a high value man is a good consolation prize if you cannot get a master of the universe. And a master of the universe, I'm talking about somebody who's the people that Kevin Samuels don't count as the high value men. I'm talking about the rappers, the NFL players, the NBA players, and things like that. They want men who make that type of income. But if they can get a guy in six figures, especially a high six figures, they'll definitely settle for that. You know, if they can get a hold of that. Now, the thing is that they still believe Prince Charming is coming, and a high value man to a woman is Prince Charming coming. You know what I'm saying? And all those little Disney stories and things like that is some woman that's not in the greatest position, and then some prince comes up, you know, and takes her to this life where she's now going to be royalty for the rest of her life. They live quote unquote happily ever after. Well, if you ain't did anything with your life, and then some man with a whole lot of money come take care of you for the rest of your life, that's like having your little Disney prince show up. You know what I'm saying? And there's certain men in those positions, but they want something for being in that position. And truth be told, a lot of people have to make sacrifices to even achieve those positions. Getting rich and getting famous is hard work. Yeah, you know, that I'm not saying that there ain't been a couple people that have simply been discovered, but becoming rich and becoming famous is hard work most of the time. The generally most of the time to achieve it is gonna come with some hard work. You know, I'm not gonna say in a little bit of luck involved, but some people who've actually made it they don't really believe in luck. They just say I was prepared when the right opportunity came along. But at the end of the day, getting to these positions ain't that easy. And women do not respect the work that it takes to get into these positions. Therefore, they feel like just because you got in that position, you should never disqualify me, because they're not jiving with the work part. You know, they just want what they want, and it's that simple. But a lot of men are afraid to tell women that they ain't good enough. We see that in everyday life, which me, I believe that's one of the biggest problem with black men, that we just don't tell women they ain't good enough. You know, it's
Oh,
always,
that's absolutely true.
yeah, we keep this narrative going about black men aren't good enough for the women. Now we are. They're just not good enough for us, and they're not used to hearing that,
We
especially on
also
the
have
level of a man like Kevin Samuels.
we also have to look at um, things like the fathers, because fathers will also teach our daughters, you don't need no man for but one thing. You don't need no man for but one thing. And end up teaching masculinity into a lot of our daughters. And then when they go send them off into the world, you know, this woman has this, well, I don't need no man but for one thing, according to my daddy, even though to your daddy, you're still his little princess, even when you're 45, you know. So it causes this fraction in the mentality often of the women. So, you know, I think we can correct that there. Um, Not easily, but you know, because a lot of that comes from, you know, a lot of men will do this, you know, happy wife, happy life thing. For example, in my household, now this is gonna sound ironic, but my wife will correct me when I say happy wife, happy life. She's like, no, you know, it's happy spouse, happy house, because we both have to be happy in the house. You know, she doesn't just look for her own happiness; she also looks for mine. Now, we'll concede on certain things. Like, for example, you know, she tends to run hot, so she likes the air conditioning on all the time, and I don't. But I'll concede and let her have the AC on because it's not bad to be, you know, a little cold and put on a blanket. But then a lot of stuff like, you know, me sitting on YouTube all day, she will want to spend time sometime, but, you know, it takes a lot to get a message out there. So I think often, you know, a lot of the ladies don't understand um, what goes into becoming that type of guy that they want, right? Even the 6-figure guy, even a blue collar guy who's 6 figures. Well, he's got to put in either a lot of work in hours and overtime, or doing jobs, or going out for bids on, getting the government contracts. So, he's got to drive to a convention that's 3 hours away. And, like, I've even got homeboys who are in relationships, who are business owners themselves. And one of the things I think that often women are calling in is due to their insecurities, right? So, for example, I have people who are business owners whose women will call them constantly, like, "What are you doing? Are you with some other chicks?" "Oh, I hear females in the background." And he's like, "Listen, I'm at my place of business. Yes, there are females here. They're called customers. They're the reason that you're driving that fancy new car and living in that apartment that you're living in that I pay the rent on, and the kids have all the new Jordans," right? Um, so women have their own insecurities. And, even like for myself, part of the reason I started following Kevin Samuels, and I would think a lot of men follow Kevin Samuels, I wasn't the guy who was getting all the ladies when I was younger. Now, with, what I do for a living and my increased confidence, mainly just their increased confidence, but, I feel I have a little bit of a jawline, at least in my photos. So that can bring some attraction. And what it is dealing with women younger. Yeah, I wasn't getting them. And now that I'm able to get them, just like Kevin Samuels is older and able to get them, it's kind of him speaking to them, even though it's doing them help and telling them the truth. A lot of it is also being able to live vicariously through him and tell these women who, back in high school, wouldn't go to the prom with me, and now they have 4 kids and flag me down at Walmart because they say I'm doing real estate deals. They want to be with me now, and now I'm like, ha ha ha! You dubbed me back then. I'm dubbing you now that I'm successful. Um, so it's a similar thing, but he's also teaching them the reality, because just like a man, there's a verse that DMX said in Nas's song: "Wake up, life is too short to get caught up in some dumb ish. Wake up one day, 40 years old on some bum ish," right? Because time flew by, but you was too fly to see the light. Every day is getting darker, then comes the night. Now what? Realize that you ain't got ish. Not long ago, you was the man on some hot ish. You know what I'm saying? So he's saying basically for men, you don't want to wake up one day 40 years old and be like, "Holy smokes, I don't have nothing as a man." Forget attracting women. For myself, for competing against other guys. What if my homeboys want to go to the cigar lounge and I'm broke? What does that look like to my friends? Man, I can't go and talk about LeBron dropping 45 at the cigar lounge with my guys, and I'm worried about my Cash App card bouncing. You know what I mean? Like, that's not manly, period. Not forget about women, just amongst other men. Men don't want to be around broken men either. We don't, that's not good for our growth or development. We like to be amongst in the lion's den, where we might argue and fight amongst each other and scream at each other and almost come to fists. And Kevin Samuels very much says this, which is why we can talk a certain way online, and often we'll say to each other, "You wouldn't say that in my face." And that's very true, because we understand as men, if I say something too crazy to you, or you say something too crazy to me, we're liable to punch each other in the mouth. And Kevin Samuels says that all the time. Men know that you speaking to a man can possibly lead to violence.
And you know what? That's always going to be true and always on the table, which is why we watch how we speak to each other. But women live in this world where they're not really concerned with men hitting them. So you know what I mean? Because everyone teaches just about. Because even people like myself, I teach people don't hit anybody, but that still means don't hit a woman. And a lot of people just say you don't hit a woman. So women ain't worried about violence, and it just is what it is. And no one's worried about how Kevin Samuels talks to men. They have no concern over that. It's him talking to women, and women feeling bad that a black man especially gets to talk to them in a way that they're just simply not accustomed to. Because that's why you have so many YouTube channels that have had issues. Me being a person who's had issues as well when it comes to people flagging and people wanting to bring my channel down. That's why I say I think the issue at this particular point, Kevin Samuels was too far gone. Them doing something to my channels or messing with my channels, he only got X amount of subscribers at the time. That's nothing, because my channel was messed with before I even made my first 1,000 subscribers when my first channel went down. Okay, that's no big deal. But he didn't hit 1 million already. You ain't finna stop this train. That's over with. But it just goes into to that nature when it comes to the sisters of they want to tell the white man on us. You know what I'm saying? But Kevin Samuels don't have a boss that they can go tell. So now they got a petition to who? The people that's making money off Kevin, because they haven't figured that part out. Kevin is not a part of a team. See, you can call a person job. A job is a team situation where you have, even if it's somewhere you got 30 employees. Okay, if you remove one guy, you're down to 29, you go find a new 30th guy. That's just how that type of stuff operates. This is a single man. You know what I'm saying? He's garnering a lot of attention. And like I said, a lot of these folks have no idea about the Black Manosphere as a whole. And some that do, but a lot of them don't have a clue about the Black Manosphere. So they're just naturally saying, hey, I'm supposed to tell some white man on this black guy. And that's what they're trying to do. So I think the petition is silly. I knew it was going to come. I just believe it's silly.
Yeah, I think, you know what, that's more of a force at gaining traction, right? Or being the anti Kevin Samuels. So because they'll be, first of all, they're not going to get enough signatures. What do you need for most petitions? At least 10,000 signatures, right? So,
I mean, the man got a channel with 1 million subs, though.
yeah.
So what you gonna say? You're gonna get 10,000 people who don't like him, that don't spend money on him, versus the million of people that do?
Yeah. So,
Hey,
you know,
hey guys, hey, I want to say something. I want to drop off. So Alonzo, I'm gonna in part tackle your question a little bit right now. I was a little uncomfortable because I felt like I was kind of on the spot. But first of all, just going back to what Alonzo said, what I said earlier, yeah, Kevin is as abrasive and straight no chaser as you see on his shows. So I can personally vouch for that. In terms of where I was meeting females prior to COVID-19, Alonzo, I would say everywhere. At the job, at church. I go to one of the nicer churches here. At the gym, on the metro, in the grocery store.
3 good spots.
But I would say I didn't know what I was looking for. And there were certain bits of information I was operating on. For example, me and Sheed had a discussion on my channel a couple of weeks ago about dating single mothers. During that stream, I did say that under certain circumstances, I would be open to that. I've had to learn that you would think church is a good place to meet a woman. There are challenges there as well, and I think that was one of the positives about going to Kevin's event that one time and doing that consultation with him afterwards. And that was, for example, the suit I was wearing was too big. And I didn't understand my image. I didn't understand how to be my best self and to maximize what I had. And so I think that I was not packaging myself the best way possible. And in Washington, D.C., image matters.
Yeah.
So it's to answer your question, multiple places, but there are also some things that I personally did not have in place.
Okay.
In terms of what I would be looking for now, if I was looking for a wife, well, first of all, she and I would have to sit down and say, okay, well, what does a wife mean to you? We have to sit down and talk about how do you see this? Do we intend to bury each other, or are you going to get bored after 5 years? I think she. Well, you're married. She's married. There are probably some hard discussions that you have to have before getting into that thing.
Well, in terms of that, so actually, this is a good way to go, really quick, because we both have to hop off shortly. But in terms of what are you looking for, don't worry about her idea yet. When I say what are you looking for, just like a woman has a list, regardless of if she's a good woman or for the streets, there are certain specifications that she's like, a man's got to have. Da, 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 da. And often men, when we get asked that question, well, she's got to cook, she's got to clean, she's got to be fit. Okay, let's dig deep and find out what it is to you that's going to be something that's important in a wife. For example, my wife and I almost speak our own language, right? We have inside jokes that we tell each other that have grown over the years, right?
Mhm.
But we actually, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying.
So we actually built our relationship upon a friendship, right? So she's my best friend. I'm her best friend, right? Anything that happens, I know I can go tell her. Anything that happens, she can come tell me. Remember, for example, when you speak about your accomplishments to your father, there's a certain glow that you have, remembering being that young man, being able to say, I accomplished this. The first thing I want to do is run and tell my father.
Okay.
Okay. So with the woman, you want to, and then obviously it doesn't happen immediately, but that's one of the things that you want to be cognizant of, that you want her to want to be able to build to, is that you want this person, you want to be able to come home to this person and actually be like, yo, I'm outside of everything, we've argued, we fussed, we're still going to go to bed together happy. I still have the best interest of this person and she has the best interest of me. My wife and I sometimes get on each other's nerves. Sometimes she likes that I'm on the manosphere all the time because it stops me from climbing all over her. I like to climb and kiss on her all the time. She sometimes gets annoyed with that. She's like, oh my God, get off of me. So this leaves her a reprieve, me being away from her for a few hours. But she actually enjoys me climbing all over her. But obviously with COVID, it's been extra because, we've been stuck in the house together.
Mhm.
Little things like that, right? So, she wants to be, you want her to be, X height, X weight. Okay. Those are surface things. But also look at, is she willing to let me vet her family and what is her family like, right? Because you have a family that's similar to that book, People Like Us, right?
Mhm.
So your family bloodline, even though you're in your 40s, so I know because I'm in my late 30s that your mother and your father and grandmother and uncles and aunts, when you gonna have some babies, when you gonna get married, right? But
Mhm.
if you came home with watermelonisha, they're not really gonna be like exact. They're gonna be like, I hope you just having a little bit of fun, right? They're not gonna be wholeheartedly accepting of watermelonisha like they would, you know, Christine, and
Mhm.
I say those names just to show the personality, not to show any ethnicity. Uh, but or what's the girl who went and beat the girl up, Sharkeisha. So that type of an attitude, right? Do you want someone with that type of an attitude? Because you can find a lot of those, like Erica Mena, a bunch of attractive girls who are, for lack of a better term, hood buggers. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
But we can also find maybe the girl who um, there was someone on Attorney Awesome who he kept telling her to lead with her Harvard degree, and I disagree with that. But if she's getting into a conversation with a man the caliber of you, then that's one of the things that's probably been your issue, even with the fine dimes. And you've only had to be Dr. Goodbar with them because once you get into a conversation of, politics, oh, well, I think Joe Biden, because he's the Democrats and he's for us. And then you're like, oh, she's dumber than a box of bricks. I can't have a conversation further than, sexual with her. And then that depletes your pool. And so that on the other side now turns those women into, oh, these guys are lame and they're boring and whatever, whatever. Instead of actually the reality is they don't have, just because of, sometimes their socioeconomic upbringings, they don't have the ability to deal with a man your caliber. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like Sheed, I know Sheed, you're married. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm
Sheed,
married. Nah, I was typing in the back chat. But basically I was gonna end up doing closing remarks. But like I said, when it come down to the whole situation, as far as the marriage and finding the right person, you gotta more or less, I would say, look at what you want in your wife, and to the aspect of you standing on a purpose of not trying to settle. There's certain things that you're gonna have to compromise with, but you're compromising to the point of your advantage of talking to your wife, seeing her situation, how she look at certain things, how it's gonna be a benefit to you than a negative in a situation of you dating. Like I was gonna say earlier when you guys were talking and we was having a discussion about the ring. When it came to us buying a house, my wife wanted to go all out using both our incomes, and I pretty much was against that. And she wanted her dream home. I told her this is a situation where if we're gonna get this house right here, I would rather lower the standard, get a little less money to the point where when we go to buy the house, we're not spending a whole bunch of money, and in return, we're actually saving going into when we buy in another house. And her whole premise was, why not go ahead and just ball out? I'm like, no, that's not what we're gonna do. And it helped out because of the pandemic. Who knows? What if I would have lost my job or she lost her job? Then what kind of grievance we would have had scrambling, trying to get money, trying to hopefully make sure things work or not. And when she understood that, she was like, okay, well, you were right. I was wrong, to the point where if something was to happen, you know, we'll be left high and dry. And, pretty much the issue at hand now for a lot of guys actually running around. But can you still hear me?
loud
Hello?
and
I hear
clear.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, but for a lot of guys, you gotta understand, what's the reason why you're getting married? You know, that's the biggest of all. Why are you getting married? Don't get married for your family. Don't get married because it looks good on paper. Why are you getting married? What benefits of getting married is going to help you out. My whole premise in BGS told several times, I wanted kids. I wanted a stable household because of the way I was raised and the way, the tragedies of my family. And that's what I wanted. But I wasn't going to settle for just anybody. That's why ultimately I got married at 25. I could have got married straight out of high school to my high school sweetheart. But when it came down to it, there were certain things that she didn't want to change about herself. You know, she wanted to, do certain things. I didn't like it. I wasn't going to go that way. Ultimately, other women I messed with after that, they all came to the same issue. So when it regarded me getting married, before I met my wife, I technically thought that I wasn't going to get married till at least my 30s or 40s. I got married at 25, you know, but before her, it was a sketchy road. Like all the women, they either had some type of issue to the point where they wanted to control the relationship, or there were issues that they wanted didn't want to change for themselves. And I only came to the premise of getting you to be better, as well as being in a relationship with me, because I told the women straight from the get go what my premise was, what I wanted to accomplish in a relationship. The boyfriend girlfriend thing was cute, but I was on the line strictly telling them I wanted to be married. So if we're gonna get married, these are the things that we're gonna have to do to work on. But I want to go ahead and get ready to close out because perfect timing is on, and I know I'm cutting in a little bit of his time. So I just wanted to throw up something quick because like I said, it shocked me that my friend I was talking to was an older guy. he was telling me about how women didn't want to talk to him if he knew Kevin Samuels. Then I seen the petition thing later, and that was before I recorded that, before I heard about the petition thing. So I was like, it's ironic. I got to talk about this, man. This is crazy. But go ahead, guys. You can give your closing statement.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I was able to stand in for you while you were gone, Sheet. I don't really have anything else. I got to finish up here, so I'm going to drop down, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
appreciate that too.
All right, take care, Dr. Dunbar.
All right.
All right, I guess I'll go next. Salute Dr. Dunbar. Thank you again, Chief, for having us up. Salute to you, Roger. Everybody watching in the chat, in the airwaves, and on the playback. Yeah, man, that whole petition thing is crazy. I don't have too much else to say other than, my usual white ass. And, when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept the challenge. Salute.
Okay, I guess it's on me. Well, thank you for having me up, She. Shout out to Dr. Dunbar and Alonzo. I'll keep it short. I was just made aware about the petition this morning. I knew the petition would come. I figured this out. I can't. It was a while months ago. I knew they was going to do a petition because I understand the reaction in the black community. Unfortunately, if a black man is doing something, a lot of sisters are going to tell the white man on him. That's what their attitude is. So it's just how to tell the white man. So I knew it was coming. I think they done missed the boat on him because he already had 1 million subscribers. So I don't think there's nothing you can really do to stop that particular train. But I think it's part of even a bigger situation, which I may touch on tomorrow morning, because it's about the fact that black women just don't really like successful black men. Now, in the Kevin Samuels case, because it is 1 million subscribers, sure, you can get other women to jump on board with that as well. But I think it has a lot to do with the fact that black women do not like successful black men. So I'll probably deal with that tomorrow morning, and I'm gonna look more into this petition situation. Not that I really feel I need to, but I'm gonna look more into it anyway. But we should all saw this coming. As soon as his numbers start, going up on a regular basis. Well, once that first World Star Hip Hop video came out, and then he kind of shot up, I knew a petition would be coming at some point after that. I didn't think it would actually take this long, but I think that it missed the boat. The window of opportunity for them to have an effective petition is gone. So I don't really think as much to be worried about at this particular point in time. That's just how I see it. But I'll leave it right there. Appreciate you, She. Have a good one.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and re-upload that video so you can actually hear my friend talking about it, to where he said out his mouth that most of the new girls that he probably talked to or deal with, they say if any guy that they deal with talks about Kevin Samuels or knows of him, they're not dating him, on the premise that, it's almost like they're not gonna fall for the games. And even with this guy, before even dealing with Kevin Samuels, he moved a certain way to where the women that he dealt with, he was always like not under understanding, like how are these women so fine and doing certain things, and some of them a little out there, but majority of them wasn't crazy anything. How are they still single? And I told him, I said it's to the point where they've grown to change. Like if I want to be married, I'm gonna have to not be the same woman I want to be, but be a different person. And that starts with them. Even though they might be trying to, change up to benefit them, in the end, like I kept telling him, that these women, pretty much seeing that the way they were taught or the way that they, kind of grew into this whole being, it's not working for them because they're losing at every angle. And seeing that the grandmothers who won told them not to go down the road as them, they're still married, they're still in relationship, but ultimately they're looking at their single life and like a tragedy. Like, why was I told to be smart, get education, and leave man out of the equation and have fun? But my grandmas, my aunt, they're married, they hate their relationship, but they're still there getting all the the things that come with marriage, as far as protection, provision. They're losing out on that because they want to be strong and independent. And like I always say, if you want to be independent, you're pretty much, just like the 4th of July, the Independence Day. You're getting away from the standard of being together. You're wanting to be alone. So when I hear women say strong and independent, yes, that means you want to be alone. And they no, that's not what it means. Well, to the premise to where you can just be strong and valuable or something, stop using independent, because independent means you're doing it by yourself. How can you be strong and independent and you're married? But like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and drop off because going over the perfect timing, about to hear this talk. And if he's not saying something right, just know I'm gonna go over there and troll him. And like I say all the time, for everybody to go over there to perfect timing, type in we here or she to just, troll him a little bit. But like I always say, we here and till next time, we gone.